Liam had always been the golden child, the one our parents adored. Meanwhile, I, Noah, was left to fend for myself. Our mother spoiled him endlessly, cooked his favourite meals, bought him whatever he wanted, and even made me tutor him in school. She expected me to help him simply because we were family, yet I never received the same in return.
While I was quiet, introverted, and focused on my studies, Liam was loud, reckless, and manipulative, just like our father. He bullied me constantly, mocking my glasses, my height, and my interests. He would sneak into my room, read my journal, and then humiliate me by telling our parents about my private thoughts. When I complained, they laughed, saying, "That's just how brothers are." Once upon a time, in a land full of wonders, there lived a kind little fox named Finley. One day, while wandering through the sparkling forest, Finley discovered a hidden door beneath a glowing tree. With a heart full of curiosity, Finley opened the door and stepped into a world of flying butterflies, singing flowers, and stars that twinkled like diamonds. But something was missing, the magical golden acorn that kept the forest alive. Finley knew that only the purest of hearts could find it, and so the adventure began. What would Finley discover next? Once upon a time, in a land full of wonders, there lived a kind little fox named Finley. One day, while wandering through the sparkling forest, Finley discovered a hidden door beneath a glowing tree. With a heart full of curiosity, Finley opened the door and stepped into a world of flying butterflies, singing flowers, and stars that twinkled like diamonds. But something was missing, the magical golden acorn that kept the forest alive. Finley knew that only the purest of hearts could find it, and so the adventure began. What would Finley discover next? Then came the day Liam crossed a line even our parents couldn't ignore. He tried to set my backpack on fire. When I told my father, he finally saw how serious the situation was. For the first time, my father stood up for me, warning Liam that his behavior had to stop. That night, my father sat me down and admitted something shocking. He had spent years hoping Liam would mature, but now he realized his younger son was nothing but a manipulative bully. Hearing those words felt surreal. Finally, someone acknowledged my pain. To help me gain confidence, my father enrolled me in MMA classes at a local gym. At first, I was skeptical. A bookish guy like me learning to fight? It seemed ridiculous. But I committed myself, balancing my studies with intense training. Over time, I changed, physically and mentally. Then one day, Liam stole money I had been saving for months. I confronted him just as he was about to leave with his friends. When I demanded he return it, he smirked and said, "What are you gonna do? Run to Dad?" Something inside me snapped. I punched him. Hard. He screamed, which was honestly hilarious. But my mother rushed in, furious. Not at him, but at me. She scolded me for not being a better role model. Liam stood behind her, grinning like he had won. But this time, my father intervened. When he heard the full story, he sided with me. He told Liam he had no right to take what wasn't his. Liam, realizing he wasn't going to be protected this time, threw a tantrum and stormed off. After that, he distanced himself from me. He still threw verbal jabs when our parents weren't around, but the power dynamic had shifted. He couldn't physically intimidate me anymore, and he knew it. By the time I left for college, I felt a sense of freedom I had never known. Away from Liam, I thrived, excelling in my studies, making friends, and eventually meeting the woman I thought was the love of my life. Ava. Ava and I got married shortly after graduation. Our parents were thrilled, and for a while, life was good. I truly believed we had a strong, loving marriage. Then, I discovered the first betrayal. Ava had cheated on me with a coworker. It was a short affair, but it shattered my trust. Still, I forgave her, not wanting to break up our family. I convinced myself that people make mistakes. Years passed, and I thought we had moved on. Then, 3 months ago, Ava confessed something even worse. She had been having an ongoing affair. Worse yet, she wasn't sure if our son, my son, was actually mine. The devastation was indescribable. When I pressed for details, she finally admitted the truth. The other man? Liam. She and Liam had grown close during family gatherings. He had been charming, attentive, the opposite of how he had always treated me. One night, when I was away for work, things escalated between them. She claimed she regretted it, but the affair continued for years. She had spent holidays and vacations with me, while secretly sneaking around with my own brother. I was crushed. We did a paternity test. The results confirmed my worst fear. The boy I had raised, loved, and thought of as my son wasn't mine. I filed for divorce immediately. Ava begged for forgiveness, claiming she still loved me. But I was done. I packed my things and left. Afterward, I cut contact with Liam entirely. Our parents, however, were furious. My father was so disgusted by Liam's betrayal that he disowned him, rewriting his will to leave everything to me: his house, assets, and $2 million inheritance. Liam didn't find out until recently. Suddenly, after years of ignoring me, he showed up begging for my help. He had lost everything. Ava, realizing Liam wasn't as dependable as I had been, left him. Now, he was struggling financially, barely able to hold down a job. He wanted me to speak to our parents on his behalf, to convince them to give him a second chance. I laughed in his face. I told him he should have thought about consequences before sleeping with my wife. He tried to argue that Ava was just as much to blame. I agreed, but reminded him that he was the one who made the choice to betray his own brother. Once upon a time, in a land full of wonders, there lived a kind little fox named Finley. One day, while wandering through the sparkling forest, Finley discovered a hidden door beneath a glowing tree. With a heart full of curiosity, Finley opened the door and stepped into a world of flying butterflies, singing flowers, and stars that twinkled like diamonds. But something was missing: the magical golden acorn that kept the forest alive. Finley knew that only the purest of hearts could find it, and so the adventure began. What would Finley discover next?